Hey, I'm Dennis Labriola, and I want to welcome you to Seventh Inning Stretch, the podcast. And we're here for another installment. And this is one that I'm very, very excited about. And today's guest is a man that has the ability, an incredible ability, to focus on a goal, whether it be a personal goal, family goal, a business goal, whatever that objective is. He has the ability. He's like a pit bull with a bone in its teeth. He just won't let go until he gets the job done, no matter what it is. And I think that is, listen, we don't see that as often as we would. And but he's also someone who, in my opinion, focuses on those things in life that are the most important: God, family, his relationships, personal health, and financial health. And I think those are all really important things for us. So, and I thought that today that we would talk about how that he developed that incredible ability and find out a little bit about maybe who impacted him and some of the relationships that he valued along the way on his journey and some of those life lessons. Maybe we could even learn something. All right, that would even be good. So I want to introduce a very special person in my life, Mr. Charlie Durso.
Hey, thank you, Dennis. And let me just say that Dennis is my brother-in-law.
Yes,
and so he left that out. I just got to throw it in there because to me, that is one of the greatest blessings in life. The man is full of wisdom. He's very successful in many endeavors in his life, including building a multi-million-dollar company and a software company. And so he's done very well. He's got a lot of wisdom, and I am just honored and I feel privileged that he invited me onto this podcast.
Yeah.
So I don't take this lightly. This is amazing. And so I love this man. He is awesome. And what you see is what you get.
Well, we met now about 15 years ago.
Yes,
Patty and I are married 14 years, right? And it's true. We are brother-in-laws, right? Really more like brothers than anything. But more than that, because we're also business partners. We're actually neighbors. Hey, how many of you really want to live that close to your relatives? I do, because this is great. We have a great time together. And he's my go-to guy. If it's anything to do with like my cars, or if it's something to do with the pool or the yard.
I love cars, love gardening, love life.
We even like the Beatles, both of us. We love the Beatles. So, there's an awful lot of stuff.
My era.
So what I want to do is I kind of want to maybe take a little journey together.
Sure.
To kind of maybe start we're going to roll a calendar back. We're going to start maybe when you were a kid. I mean, I know that you grew up in Brooklyn, but until I met Patty, I never even went to Brooklyn. And I just realized how big Brooklyn is.
Without an armored car.
Well, yeah, right.
Perception.
So tell us a little bit about where in Brooklyn you were born. Again, it's a big place. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and those kind of things.
Perfect. So, growing up in Brooklyn was very unique. And grew up in Brooklyn, Marine Park, Sheepshead Bay area by Flatbush Avenue. Don't regret anything of my childhood. As a matter of fact, I don't regret anything in life, because everything that we have experienced in our life is what builds us to be who we are today.
Mm.
And and who we are in the future, believe this or not, has nothing to do with our past. It has to do with the decisions that we make today and every day for the rest of our lives is what determines our future. Our past is what created today. And we can learn from our past. Growing up, it was interesting. My dad, he was in the beverage industry, and he was the #1 sales rep for a major soda company. He came down with lymphoma, cancer, and a brain tumor.
Mm.
And two men came to my home. They came inside my home and they fired my dad. They took the keys to his company car. And that left an impression in me at age 15. I made a commitment. I said to myself, and the seed got planted. I said, I will never permit this to happen to me when I get older. I had no clue how I was going to do that. I was 15. I went to high school in Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan, 49th Street, between 9th and 10th Avenue. I had to make a separation from my friends. And I'm just telling you about my friends. You know, the school that they went to was Madison High School. They were sitting on the steps playing cards. They were smoking weed, barking at the moon. And I know your friends were all at, like, you know, religious studies. I get that. I'm just telling you about my friends. So I realized that for my life to be different, I had to do different. And I had to surround myself in a different environment. And, you know, my dad was very inspirational in my life. And so has Dennis's dad, Tony. And I know Tony, like, I love this man. He's an amazing man. He passed away at age 94.
95.
95. Yeah, 95 years of age, which almost is 96. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. And you know, he's such a great guy. He was an amazing pool player. And I have a pool table in my home, and he'd come in with his walker, you know, and I go, come on, Tony, you ready? Are you ready to take a licking today? I'm going to embarrass you today. And he'd be like, sure, let's go. And all of a sudden, you know, like the cane would come off, and he'd be like all over the pool table like this. I'm like, what happened to this guy's lip? I mean, you know, I think it was a put on.
I think, yeah, he took some money from you, I think.
A lot. I don't think I've ever beat him. He was just amazing, and passed away at 95. You'd never know it.
Yeah.
He was part of that great generation, served in World War II, the same as my dad did.
Your dad was in the Navy, right?
The Navy, who's on an aircraft carrier called the Shangri-La. And my father-in-law was a Marine. And, you know, prior to him passing away too, he's a tremendous blessing in my life also. And he was a retired lieutenant with the New York City Fire Department. And so my dad being an inspiration in my life, you know, when he had come down with cancer, he said, son, he says, you cannot keep a winner down. He says, a winner will always get up one more time than he's knocked down, and he'll get up that much harder. My dad beat cancer. And not once. It came back again, went into remission, came back again, and beat it again. He died 2014, April 1st, 2014, from Alzheimer's, age 87, close to 80, close to the age of 88.
Yeah.
You know, he's always incorporated in me. He says, you know, the captain always goes down with his ship. He said, son, you never give up. And you know, values that are indoctrinated into us from childhood, the positive values from people who are influential in our life, is our values that we could take with us, you know, for generations and pass them down. You know, there's an expression in Africa. It says that when an elderly person in a village dies, it's as if an entire library just burned down.
Yeah.
Because in that one person is so much wisdom and so much knowledge and understanding. You know, knowledge is one thing. See, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Knowing but not doing is not knowing. And so that applied knowledge is what leads to wisdom. Like, I could teach you how to swing a bat and hit a ball, get up at the plate. How's that going to work for you? You know, it takes the actual application of what you learn, that knowledge, and applying through repetition and consistency is what creates our competence. And competence is what leads to confidence. And so, you know, my dad always taught me, whatever you start, you have to finish. The captain always goes down with his ship.
Yeah, now that's interesting.
Never give up.
That's interesting because, you know, my dad would say the same thing. And, you know, they talk about that generation as the greatest generation. You know, whether it is the greatest generation or not, I guess could be argued. But you know, they kind of always looked at, you know, what's in front of you, get the job done, like make the accomplishment, you know, give the effort, you know. It was always about that work ethic.
And not just that. It was, if you're gonna do something, do it right or don't do it at all. And that's something my dad always indoctrinated into me. And my mom My mom used to make me do windows in my home. Growing up in Brooklyn, I had to clean the windows, and she'd be on the inside. Now, we didn't live in a big home or anything like that. I mean, I had a plot of grass in front of the house. It was probably 10 foot by 10 foot. But she would stand, we had just a bow window, and she would stand the inside and she'd go like that on the glass. Streak over here, streak. I had to have it perfect.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she wouldn't let me get away with it. And so, and so that, the work ethics, the mindset, thought process that we have in life is what's indoctrinated into us at some point in time in our early years, and we carry that forward. And then the people that come into our lives, as we mature, is what really makes an impact in the direction of our life also, because birds of a feather will flock together. You want to climb Mount Everest? Don't look at the guy at the bottom of the mountain looking at the top that's never climbed it.
Yeah, that's true.
What you do is you get around the guy or the woman that climbed to the top of that mountain and safely made it down to the bottom. That's where I want to get my influence from in virtually anything that I do in life.
Now, let me ask you this. You're a firstborn. I'm a firstborn.
No, I'm middle.
You're
middle son. Yeah. I have an older sister.
Oh, Maria is older.
Maria is 1 year older.
I didn't realize that.
And then my brother Robert is 6 years younger.
Yeah, I thought you were the eldest, and because there's a syndrome, right? This firstborn syndrome thing, but obviously you don't have that, although maybe you do. All right. So when your dad was first diagnosed with cancer when you were 15, your sister was 16, Rob a little bit younger. I mean, you're the oldest guy in the family.
Yes.
The women and the girls. I mean, my brother and I. Now, for me, I'm the eldest. My brother is the youngest. I have a middle sister, and we used to have competitions to see who could make her cry at the dinner table. How fast could one of us make us cry? And it was because she would cry like that, right? So
tortured her.
Yeah. So the whole thing though is that now you have this horrible news that comes into the house. I know by knowing you and knowing a little bit of your story, how much responsibility that you started taking on, helping the family and doing things like that. How did it affect your brother and your sister though?
So that's an interesting question. My brother was 6 years younger. He was probably 9 years of age.
Yeah.
And it didn't really impact him as much as to what was going on. And my dad, being the person that he is, he's always showed strength. And it was always like an upward attitude. Here's what I find that
upward attitude.
Upward attitude. I think the greatest blessing that God has given us in our life when he created us is imagination.
Yeah.
When you think about it, if we're created in God's image, and he's created us through imagination. So the greatest blessing that he's passed on down to us is imagination.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I find that if we think about what our challenges are, then what happens is we attract to us. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. We attract to us what we imagine.
Yeah.
Because imagination is what we create in our lives.
Yeah,
Man without vision, where there's no vision, my people will perish.
Yeah.
So vision is imagination.
Yeah. Well, if you think about anything
in the mind's eye,
and anything that an inventor has invented, he saw it first.
Absolutely.
In his imagination before he actually did it.
Here's the difference.
Yeah.
Here's the difference. The Wright brothers didn't imagine themselves staying on the ground. They imagined themselves up in the air.
Yeah.
Alexander Bell didn't imagine himself non-communicating with people. He imagined himself being able to communicate through space with people.
Interesting.
Thomas Edison didn't imagine being in the dark. He imagined being in the light and creating darkness to light. So see, we get what we envision, we get what we imagine. So my dad always imagined as the end result, the positive, didn't imagine what was the actual, which was the negative.
Well, he saw himself being well.
Absolutely.
And that's how he got well.
Overcoming. He saw the end result.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, when God created the universe, he imagined the end result. He imagined how he wanted everything to be.
Yeah.
And he passed that imagination down to us. Dogs can't imagine, birds can't imagine, trees can't imagine, but we can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's created us in his likeness, in his image.
Yeah.
So we have the power to imagine. So instead of imagining what our situations are, imagine how we want our situations to be. Think of the end result.
Yeah, gotcha.
Make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
And so, our past relationships with our family, the drama that we've experienced growing up in life, everything's a stepping stone to what it took us together to be here today.
Yeah, sure, of course. It's all lines
and so my brother was too young to really feel the impact or imagine what was happening. My dad protected him from that because my dad's attitude was, the captain always goes down with his ship.
Yeah, gotcha.
You never give up.
Right.
A winner always gets up harder than when he's knocked down and one more time.
Wow.
And he said, son, you can't keep a winner down. Winners are going to win. I'm getting up. Now, I don't believe that there are winners and losers. I hear people say that all the time. I believe that God created all of us in his likeness, and he created all of us with the ability to overcome.
Yes.
However, not everybody chooses to use that ability because, look, everything in life is a power of choice. We choose if we want to focus and imagine our current situation, or we choose if we want to eliminate, focus the end result, how we want it to be versus how it actually really is. My sister Maria, she was kind of negatively impacted in a sense. She went through some drama with our family. My dad was in and out of the hospital, and there was a lot of uncertainties in our life. We were financially devastated. But see, I did everything I could to help out my family. I was in high school in Manhattan. I worked at in a Fisk building on 57th and 8th Avenue, in a stationery store, delivering stationery 2 days a week. 3 days a week, I worked in a printing shop on 8th Avenue, 29th Street. And cleaning off rollers, doing deliveries, carrying stacks of paper. And then I also worked on the weekends at Brooklyn College on Bedford Avenue in Brooklyn. I worked in the library, gathering books and putting books away, shelving everything. I always did something to contribute into the family.
Now, I understand that when it was time for college, that you went to UCLA.
Yes. I graduated from UCLA.
Wow.
And which is a very impressive school.
Yeah, very much.
And that's the university on the corner of Lexington Avenue, UCLA. It's called Baruch College.
Yeah, which is an amazing college, by the way. I mean, it's one of the top finance and business schools on the planet. So I don't know if it had that same reputation back then.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
80% of the accountants in the state of New York were actually graduates of Baruch, including at that time the mayor of New York City.
Wow.
And so I became an accountant, not because I wanted to be an accountant, but because I wanted to make great money. I wanted to create financial stability in my life and in my family, in my future family's life, because that was a commitment that I made. The seed got planted when I was 15 years of age. I will never permit this to happen to me. I graduated from college. My mom said, so what do you want to do? I said, I just want to make a lot of money. She said, be an accountant. They make great money. So I didn't want to be an accountant. I wanted to make great money. So I became an accountant. And so, it's interesting how we plant a seed and it manifests sometime in our life in the future, because that's what I focused on. See, as a man, I realized as the head of my house, I am the head of my house in terms of my spirituality, the head of my house in terms of financial support for my family, being an example for my children. Like my dad has always been an example for me in my life. He's always had 2 or 3 jobs. My grandfather, who I was named after, Charlie, he's a stowaway, came as a stowaway, then got his documentation, came through Ellis Island from Sicily. And it was a impoverished town that he came from at age 13, all by himself, couldn't speak the language. And he's working in a cookie factory. A friend of his was just kind of joking around, put an air pressure hose by his backside. He was up on a ladder. It was a major cookie factory. And it blew out a portion of his intestines. Not all of it, just a small portion of his intestines. He was disabled.
The family show now.
Yeah, and he would never, ever take disability. Right. What he did was he went down to Sheep's Bay, bought fish off the boat, and he went door to door, and he would sell fish. And my grandfather always told me, whatever you do, as long as it's honest and legal, you should always be proud of it. But he always provided for his family. And my dad set the same example for me. It's pretty interesting because you want to give your children time. But if you give them a lot of time, then it's difficult to provide that financial stability. And that example, if you want to just give them that financial stability and you're out and all you do is work, then you're not giving your children time. You have to find a balance, because you have to leave a legacy passed down to the next generation.
Yeah.
When you read Seventh Inning Stretch, really what it is it's an accumulation of different stories of events in Dennis's life that he learned from his family. Different events that occurred around Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays and time that he messed up a little bit one day, and his mom, gave his mom a really hard time, and his dad came home and said, hey, Dennis, after dinner, I'm going to teach you how to box. And Dennis was all excited, and he's like, wow. He goes, I didn't even know my dad knew how to box. So he takes him in the garage, and he brought out a pair of boxing gloves, two pairs. And he said, this pair's for you. Put them on like this. This pair's for me. I'm like, this is amazing. I didn't even know my dad had boxing gloves. He goes, right, now put your hands up. You ready? I'm going to throw a punch. I want you to block it like this. Okay. You ready? Bam, hits him in the face. You ready? Come on, put your hands up. Bam, hits him again. Bam, hits him again, and says, Dennis, the next time you give your mother a hard time, it's going to be a worse beating.
Yeah. And well, Dennis, it was good. It was, it was a lesson. It was a lesson. And, didn't hurt so much. It was more shock than anything else that my father just punched me in the head. Right. But, because we had boxing gloves on, so there was padding and all of that. But it was really the lesson of how to respect people properly. Now let's shift gears here a little bit, because now through this, you're going to college. All right. And, and you met, your wife, my sister-in-law, it's actually my wife's sister too. They're married. We're married to sisters. So, so you meet Ann. All right. Tell us a little bit about how all that occurred.
So, I've always stayed very active, doing many things. In addition to all the jobs I had, going to college, etc., I've taken martial arts. And so that was something that I was very dedicated to. In addition to that, I played drums since I was 7 years of age. My dad was a professional drummer. He actually played in the band in the Navy. And so I learned how to play drums. I had a rock group and all that sort of stuff growing up when I had hair. And I had a girlfriend that lived on the same block as me. And we started seeing each other and for about 2 years. And then we broke up. And it's pretty interesting because my wife was very good friends with my ex-girlfriend's cousin. Now, I didn't know it, and I never met my wife, Ann, prior to my originally meeting her for the first time. I was with a friend of mine, Ricky, and we went over to Kings Plaza Mall, and we were in Macy's, and I saw my wife for the first time. I said, Ricky, I said, look at that girl over there, man. She is beautiful, you know? And then we kind of walked through. We're going to meet some people. Well,
yeah, that's right. Okay, that's what he really said.
You know, this is a clean podcast. I'm not dropping no F-bomb.
No, we don't do that. We don't do it.
It's a clean podcast.
We don't do anything.
You know, and so you know, that was it. And so one day, and I didn't have the best reputation being a drummer in a group. And, you know, we play all over the neighborhood in different clubs and stuff like that. And I played at a couple of different clubs in Manhattan. There's a place called Dangerfields for Rodney Dangerfield back then, Buddy's place, Buddy Rich's place. I played there. And so what happened was, I was with a friend of mine, and we were going to pick up these two girls at a club in Brooklyn. And as we were driving up towards the club, I saw this girl walking, and it was the girl from Macy's. And I was like, Mark, stop the car. And she went into this bar, and it's actually, at the time it was called Charlie's Bar, or Charles's Bar. And she went into the bar, and I went in to see if I could catch a rap with her, get a phone number. And as I started walking in, she actually reversed. She was coming out and said hi to me. She goes, hi. I go, oh, hi. I said, do you know me? She goes, yeah, you're so-and-so's boyfriend. I said, really? I says, she said, you're so-and-so, so-and-so's boyfriend. I said, really? No, I'm not. I said, my name is Paul. I changed my name because I knew if I gave her my real name, she would have never given me a number.
Over. That would be over.
So I got her phone number. She's with a girlfriend, and a girlfriend said, he looks just like Charlie. I said, that dude's got to be a cool guy. And she said, well, he's all right, you know. But anyway, and so I got her number, called her up, picked her up in my car. And as I went to her house, her mother and father were out in front of the house. It was a summer day, and it was pretty interesting. She said, I want you to meet Paul. So she introduced me as Paul. When we left, I said, I was hoping you wouldn't do that. She says, why is that? I said, because my name isn't Paul. She goes, I knew it. My girlfriend said he would do something like that. I said, well, if you knew that I was Charlie, right, and I was so-and-so's ex-boyfriend, would you have ever given me your number? She said, no. I said, so that's why I
got to do what you got to do.
Right, exactly. And I
like
knew,
a pit bull with a bone in his teeth.
And I knew I had an amazing woman because I took her out to my Uncle Ted's house. And he had this lime green I think it was like a 1969 Cadillac. It was so long, you had to make a reservation to turn the corner. And we went to his house. We washed his car. We waxed his car, vacuumed his car. This is my wife's first date, by the way. Yeah. How many women would do that? And she came with me to clean his car, wash it, clean everything. He paid us $20. Now, back then,
that's a lot of money.
Early 70s.
Yeah, $20.
That was a lot. That was like $175, $200 today.
Sure, right.
And so we took that $20 that night, and we went to Manhattan, and a movie called The Wall by Pink Floyd just opened up. Yeah. We went to see that movie. Yeah. We went for pastries and cappuccino. Oh. And came back home and had money left over. Right. That was our first date.
Hey, I
had a great woman.
Did you have, back then, it was like, we had, as kids, we always wanted to know which one, she's the one, right? And it was always like something that, that we would do, or a friend would say, like, hey, like, I think it was in the Bronx Tale, right? Where he said, he goes, hey, if she leans over, if you put her in the car, if she leans over and unlocks your car, she's the one. So we always had stuff, right, like that, right? Yeah. So that was yours, it was like, hey, I'm going over to,
Well, my dad has always indoctrinated into my mind about having a supportive woman that's going to be by your side, whether you're up or whether you're down. That was always my mom.
Yeah.
But my dad indoctrinated that into me.
Yeah.
And he, it was pretty interesting because He was a professional drummer also. And he worked as a house band at a place on Fresh Pond Road and Myrtle Avenue at that time in Queens. And so he would organize other bands. So he had some nights 3 to 4 bands working at the same time. He was a Roy Delane Orchestra, the Third Herd, they called him. And like if somebody wanted a band with now it's all DJs, but they want a guitar player, keyboard, sax player, he put them all together. And he'd get guys that would say, well, I got to check with my wife. And my dad would go, the guy always is asking me for work. I give him work and he's got to check with his wife. I mean, you're a man. It's your responsibility as a man to provide for your family and to protect your family.
Right.
And so I always recommend that everybody, if you're going to select somebody to run with in life, make sure that that person has your aspirations and above. Because if not, they will pull you down to their level.
So important.
When my people have no vision, they perish.
So you become an accountant. All right. You're working for an international accounting firm. And I know that you had some clients on the side. It's kind of like what everybody does. We all had, like anyone that's like who's has a vocation or a tradesman, plumber or whatever. We always had some stuff on the side. Now, my question is this though. Did you ever think, because I was kind of the same thing. I was an IT guy, right? I worked for a bank, right? And then I was always looking for projects on the side that I was able to do. But did you ever have the aspiration that your side business, your side hustle, would become your primary hustle? Or did you always feel that, well, this is kind of how it's going to be. I'm going to stay with what you thought was stability with the big firm, all right, and kind of just make some additional money. For me, it was never enough.
Right.
So, and I'm just curious as to what you think. I
wanted to work for somebody for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Period. Because I've seen what it did with my dad. My dad traded his time for money. He was a #1 sales rep for a major soda company nationwide. I don't want to mention the name. You've all heard of it. And every one of you have probably used their product at some point in your life, if not many points. And so, however, what was interesting is as you begin to evolve and as you begin to mature, you come into different pathways in your life. And it was your wife, my sister-in-law, Patty, that opened up a door of opportunity for Ann and I with a business model that put me in a position that I could grow without any risk to what I was doing working full-time, no major capital outlay. I had a group of men that reminded me of my dad. They were coaches in my life, a group of men of integrity. They were men that speak my dad's language. It's not the size of the fight in the dog. It's the size. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. Right. It's the size of the fight in the dog. A winner will never quit. Winners get up twice as hard than they're knocked down. And they keep fighting and finish what you start. And all these principles that I began to learn again and revisit again and be reminded again was everything that my dad spoke into me as well.
Well, I want to talk more about that. But before we do, I want to take a little bit of a sidebar. Because remember in the beginning, I was talking about, I was really talking about a person that has the ability to focus on the thing that's most important at that time, or kind of eliminating distractions and those kinds of things. And when there's an objective, right? So I want to use a story that I'm going to have Charlie tell, because I think that if, we talk to people that are, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Charlie's an entrepreneur now for his whole life, really. And, and so many people, they want that opportunity, but yet they don't really understand what it takes. So here's the story. I don't think he knows I'm going to ask him this. All right. But you swim. Listen, he swam the Long Island Sound. He went from Long Island to Connecticut. He swam there. All right. I would have taken a boat or a plane myself. So my first question is how far is that? That's a distance.
It was 23 miles across, approximately 23 miles.
23 miles.
It was 5 hours nonstop. 4 months prior to.
You must have been a swimmer though your whole life, right?
I could swim breaststroke. I love the water. I grew up going down to Manhattan Beach in Brooklyn when I was a kid, and Reese Park in Brooklyn, down Flatbush Avenue. I used to go by bicycle. I would go over the Flatbush Avenue Bridge, go to Reese Park. Then I would head westbound, go all the way out to Breezy Point to the the surf club. I used to, always travel by bike. I always did things. I was very active at everything I did. And I used to run at times. I'd just put on my shorts, put on my sneakers, and I would run from my house down by Nostrand Avenue and Avenue S area in Brooklyn. I would run to Flatbush Avenue, down Flatbush Avenue, over the Flatbush Avenue Bridge, come down at the bottom, hang a right, and go straight out to Breezy Point and run back home at the end of the day. I would get around by foot or bicycle. It was crazy. But anyway, so I could do a breaststroke. Okay. I could tread water. I couldn't do a freestyle. But I went with two other gentlemen. Now, I am 68 years young. And so at that time, which was probably about 25 years ago, I went with two gentlemen that were probably about 15 years younger than me. They were professional lifeguards at Rye Beach, New York. And so from what I understand, it's probably about 7, 8 people have done that, and we're 3 of them. And so I learned how to do a freestyle. And I got up to 270 laps nonstop in an Olympic-sized pool. I trained every day. I did weight training, dieting, sleep.
So you didn't just like jump in the water and decide to go.
Because see, gotcha. Remember, if I want to climb Mount Everest, I don't want to look at the guy and speak to the guy who's got a theory, who's at the bottom of Mount Everest, looking up at the top, who's never done it. Right. I want to find the guy that's done it. And
that's what these two guys were to you.
These two guys are 2 of the 7 men that have done that swim, and they redid it with me.
Only 7 men, only 7 people have done that swim at the time that you were doing it. At the time,
yes.
At the time that he was doing it.
And we raised money for Easter Seals, by the way, which is a great organization. And dollar for dollar, everything goes to the children that need apparatus, that are missing arms, legs, etc. And so,
well, that's a good reason, because I was going to ask you, like, why would you do this? I mean, most people say because it's there, right? I'm like, no, that's not. But
we
why?
Incorporated that into it, but it originally began with a dare. Like Carrie and Joe, I did it with, and Carrie Hollander, Joe Bencomo, and Carrie said to me, he goes, you got the attitude you're always talking about, never giving up and duplication, like find people who've done something you want to do and then do what they've done so that you can accomplish what they have done and, emulate, duplicate their work ethics, etc. So I said, great. I'll take you up on it. So I learned what they ate, how their sleeping habits, their workout habits, their swim habit, everything. And dieting was, so
was everything exactly the way you expected it when you were actually doing the swim?
No, because the first mile, we went out using breaststroke. We had to get through. The first mile was all jellyfish. And jellyfish? Yeah, and you're feeling this thing here and there.
You're getting stung by jellyfish?
You just keep going. It's like just very, very quick because you're not lingering. You just keep going.
I don't believe that.
And then once we got about a mile off the coast, then we started our freestyle. But the swells.
That's where the sharks came.
I didn't know there were sharks in Long Island Sound at that time until about maybe a month later in the news, they pulled a great white shark out.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was east of where we did our swim.
Gotcha.
And so what was interesting was we couldn't see the opposite side where we were going because of the 4 to 6 foot swells. That day was unusually rough. So we had to keep our elbow up to the sun. And that's how we knew that we were going straight.
Gotcha.
But about about 2 hours into the swim, I got a Charlie horse, a cramp in my leg. And I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that.
That's
like, and I'm in the water and the water is coming over, and we had no wetsuits because it's over 30,000 plus strokes. So
Wow.
you're gonna rip your skin if you have a wetsuit. So, keep this, under the cover. I wore Speedo. And I had my goggles on, and I'm trying to stretch out, but the water is coming over me. So I had to go on my belly and stretch out underwater. And I said to Carrie and Joe, how much further? The two most discouraging words that I heard was 3 more hours approximately. And I'm like, wow. Now, I didn't think that I could get from where I was to the shore, but I knew one thing for certain, that I could take one more stroke. And after I made that decision and accomplished that goal, that tiny, the smallest denominator, that small goal, did it again,
and did it again,
and did it again, and one more stroke, more stroke, until I made it successfully to the other side. But I had the confidence because I did the workout. It's don't question the price of your successes, being willing to pay the price. So prior to that swim, I did the weight workouts. I did my cardio workouts. I did my laps. I did my dieting. I did everything I had to do. I did my preparation.
Now, I think that's a really good illustration.
Well, a lot of people in life, they want to put a $1 in a $2 machine for a Coke. It says $2 for the Coke. They want to put $1 in and get the product. It's either full price or you ain't getting it at all.
Or they want to, they want the $2 for the lottery ticket because they want
to get rich.
They want to get rich quick.
There is no get rich quick.
There is none.
You get wealthy slow.
So I want to take this illustration, and hopefully you're catching this. There's this illustration of his swim, the preparation that he did, the challenges that he had. I mean, jellyfish, really, and then, one more stroke, because that is the attitude that we need in business.
Never give up.
Never give up.
You got to finish what you started.
Yeah, that's what your father said. That's actually in my notes.
Makes sense. So all of that conditioning is in the mind.
Yeah.
But Dennis, you know me, and I read every day.
Right.
I hated reading when I graduated from college. I swore I'd never read another book unless it had pictures on it.
But that's part of the preparation that you need to face the
physical,
business day.
mental, spiritually. I read on a day-to-day basis every day. That is one of my non-negotiables. See, most people have goals in life. I don't have goals. I have non-negotiables. I have standards. All right. So we wanted to connect today. You asked me to come on and speak on this podcast, which is awesome. But that doesn't eliminate me from having to do my non-negotiables. So when I got up this morning, I drank my bottled water. I hydrated myself. I had my oatmeal with my blueberries. These are non-negotiables in my life. And I did an hour workout and I read for 1 hour. And then you were here this morning. So there's non-negotiables. Did I want to do that? No, because discipline is what it takes to basically succeed in virtually anything that you do in life. And discipline is simply doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. But it is the right thing to do to accomplish your task at hand, to accomplish the vision of that end result.
So obviously this mindset that you've developed over time, it started with your dad. Okay.
And my grandfather too.
And your grandfather, and there's probably other family members as well. And then you got involved with a business group, all right, through Patty and through Ann. And, and you just said you found other people that were like-minded, all right, also, and, and learning from them, right? Because someone said to you, this is what you need to do to succeed. They laid out a plan. And so then your choice was, I'm either going to do the things to succeed as they have instructed me, all right, or have suggested to me, or not. And that's a decision that we make, and we all make those decisions. And that's one reason why most people don't make it in business or in anything they choose to do, because they don't have those non-negotiables in their life. They choose, well, I'm going to do less than what is required. Right. And because they do less, they get
goals.
Less.
I don't have goals. I have standards.
Yeah.
And I got to live by those standards. Those standards are my non-negotiables.
Right. Now, was it originally a goal to say that? I mean, your goal was the outcome, right? I mean, the outcome is that's the goal.
End result.
But then the non-negotiable becomes the things that you need to do, the standards that you need to do in order to achieve that. Because without doing that, you're not achieving that.
Absolutely.
So, so that's the one thing. Charlie was talking about vision before. A big question that you need to ask yourself is, what is the vision that you have for your life? And then you need to find out what it is that you need to do, and then do it. But just don't do it once. You got to do it one stroke at a time, another stroke, another stroke, another stroke. For those things that seem impossible will then become possible. So, now here's a question then, because I've been dealing, like I said, I've been in business for 40 years. You're in business for 40 years, and we've seen, so we've seen, and we talk about, the greatest generation being like your dad. Okay. And then there was our generation. Our generation is very much like them when it comes to work ethic and the things that you're hearing Charlie talk about. But then there is my daughter's and your daughter's generation. And now we have grandkids. So we have the grandkids generation. All right. And, and one of the things that I've seen, I don't know whether or not you've experienced as well, is that this focus on work ethic, on doing what's necessary to do, that seemed to have waned. I don't see young people. I see young people with a lot of ambition, but I don't necessarily see a lot of young people with discipline. And I know that's one of the things that we try to teach people, is to create a lifestyle of more discipline. There's so many distractions. We didn't have that many distractions. I mean, that's, in all fairness, we didn't have that many. I had Sandlot baseball, and I had, I had the Allman Brothers.
I think, and this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
From what I observed, I had in my life growing up many distractions. Like today's generation has many distractions. The distractions may have been different, but distractions and distractions.
Gotcha.
The fact that we've just come out of a massive worldwide pandemic. I mean, that's very unusual. Nothing I've experienced in my generation as, a young adult, but the young adults today have experienced that. And so, but what I find is, as we mature and we come into contact and communication with people who are in life where we want to be, the idea is to gravitate to those people. When I was 11 years old, growing up in Brooklyn, if you ask me what kind of home would you like to live in when you grow up, I could think of two homes. It's either fully attached or semi-attached. But I had
but that's what you experienced.
I had a family friend that were friends with my parents, and my grandparents, actually, for life. And I called him Uncle Sal. And he invented the machine that cuts down the brake rotors. He invented the vacuum cleaner you plug into the wall. And he also then owned Bendix brakes. And he was extremely wealthy. And I was 11 years of age, and he invited me out to Oyster Bay, Bayville, Long Island. And I never knew that this even existed. I come from concrete, and, and so I go out there. He invited me out to help stain the outside of his summer house, which was cedar shake, and I had a stain. I was always doing something. I cleaned windows. I detailed cars. I loved when it snowed, man. I would clean up. I would go around the neighborhood. That's another thing, because I would go around my neighborhood door to door, be me, three other friends, door to door. About 5 o'clock, two of my friends would say, I can't feel my fingers, my toes. I'm going in. See you tomorrow. It would be me and one other guy at 6 o'clock. That guy fell by the wayside. I've had enough. And I was always the last person standing. And I knew if I just rang enough doorbells, got enough no's, I would get to the next yes. And I would always stay out until I could shovel that one more home. And I would put some cash in my pocket.
Yeah.
So he invited me out to the house. I stayed in his house. He took me out on his cigarette boat. And this is like back in the 60s.
Sure, fast boat.
Cigarette boat
Yeah.
in Oyster Bay, Bayville, Long Island. It was, I think at that time, he had the fastest boat in Bayville. And it kind of built a dream. I was like, wow, look at this. Look at, there's people that live like this in homes like this. And I saw beautiful landscaping and stuff. There was kind of a vision there, you know, and I always wanted to gravitate around people that had a lifestyle that I inspired to have. And I know that there's if you're a young adult and you're watching this podcast, that's my greatest advice, is to get around people that are in life where you want to be. Get around the guy at the bottom of Mount Everest looking at the top that made it to the top and came back down safely, not the person that's looking at the top and never gone there.
Yeah.
You know, because a man of experience is never at the mercy of a man with a theory. So I want to get around people that have accomplished great things, and I want to learn what they've done, and I want to learn what their strengths were and their mindset, their thought process, because if I could change the way I think, I can change my output.
What about values? I think that values, although they may look a little different, I think if we strip down a lot of it, the values are probably similar. People still want,
Dennis,
they still want to be able to.
I've been around the world, my wife and I,
no
matter what country we go to. People
are people.
They all want peace. They all want happiness. They all want prosperity in their life. They want harmony in their household. People want happiness. You know, it's the government's, me personally, I don't want to get political, but it's the government's that mess it all up. But the people, the people are all the same. We all want the best for ourselves. You know, one of my greatest values is my relationship with my wife. We just celebrated our 42nd year anniversary of being married. We dated for 7 years because we were young. We met, I was 19, she was 18. And so we're together 49 years. I know her. So that relationship to me is important. We're constantly working on it. I take Ann out, and her name is Antoinette. I call her Ann. I take her out. We'll go out to lunch or to dinner at least one time a week, just the two of us. Even if we just stare at each other while we're eating, conversation comes out. Communication's everything. And I will never put myself in a position. And this happened once. I had a meeting once at my office. I have an office building, and there was a young lady that came in from Brooklyn to Long Island to this meeting I had, and she was picked up by her friend that lived in Long Island, drove out to Brooklyn, and then from Brooklyn drove to Long Island, and so then. At the end of the meeting, she had to get back home, and I'm going to Brooklyn because I had to stop by my mom's house and my dad's house. And so I didn't offer, and she was going basically to near the same area I was going, Sheepshead Bay. And I didn't offer to give her a ride back.
Right. Gotcha.
And I didn't even mention I was going there because I didn't want to compromise myself and put myself in a car with another woman. And imagine if you were driving and saw me in that car with another woman.
I
how
get
that
it.
could look. Or put myself in a compromising situation with another woman. My relationship with my wife is more important. See, these are the choices that we make in our life that sustain our level of integrity and our level of trust. Because if I don't have trust with my wife, we don't have a relationship. If you and I can't trust each other,
Right.
if I say to you, Dennis, I'll be there at this time and I'm not there, I mean, how do you trust me? If I say, Dennis, we're driving together, I'm going to the right, I make a left. I say I'm going forward, I go backward. You'd be like,
it's right.
everything he says, he doesn't do.
It's all
How
about
can I trust
integrity.
him?
Yeah, I know. Like in my world, when I was, with the IT company, and there were times when I had female staff that needed to go to an account that I was going to, and I would put them in the back seat. They never sat up front with me.
Right.
They were always in the back seat, because and it seems silly, but it's not silly. It's being wise, and it's being protective over those things that you care about most. All right. And
right, because we're infallible. We're human.
Yeah, we're human beings.
And so, sometimes that temptation comes in.
It does. Not a question.
Not sometimes. It's on a day-to-day basis, because the world that we live in is it's naturally, it is a negative domain.
That's right. Yeah, it's true.
You don't have to make something bad happen.
No, it's going to happen.
Get up in the morning, but you do have to give effort to make great things happen.
So, I always looked at, as now we're like the older generation now, all right? And looking at these newer generations that are, that are coming up, I feel a responsibility to try to help them any way that we can, if they want to be helped. And I'm always challenging myself to say, what can I do? Now, I know that you happen to be in a mentorship relationship with a young boy that was set up through the church. Right. And you don't have to give his name or anything else. That probably wouldn't be appropriate, but this is a young,
the only man in his life.
You're the only man.
And it's like, only man. In your book, you relate to scripture in your book.
Yeah.
Seventh inning stretch. As men, we need men.
Yes, we do.
In our life, and not males.
No, men.
Men.
Yeah.
And here's another thing my dad always said: the true sign of a man is that he's taking care of his responsibilities in life.
That's right.
So when we become responsive, then we are responsible and we become men.
Yeah. Dr. Cole, Edwin Lewis Cole, would always say that maturity has nothing to do with age, but how well we take care of our responsibilities.
Absolutely.
Sounds like your dad.
Right.
Wow.
And so if I could be a blessing in another person's life, after all, it's one of God's greatest commandments. And so, to love people as he's loved us.
Yeah.
And how do you express love? The most valuable commodity that you have is not your money, because you could lose money. I've lost plenty of money. But if you lose money, you could always get money back again. Now, you can have all the money in the world, but when you're out of time, you'll never get that time again.
That's true.
You can't get time back again. The most valuable commodity that you have is your time. So when you give your time to somebody, what you're really allocating to that individual is the most valuable commodity that you have. And as you grow older, it becomes more valuable to you in a sense, because time becomes it becomes more limited. It's almost like if you ever watched one of these car auctions and a Ferrari goes through and it goes for $22 million. You're like, what makes that car worth $22 million? Well, there's only two of them. Scarcity.
Yeah.
As you grow older, your time actually, when you think about it, if you really want to equate it in this sense, it becomes even more valuable. Why? You have less time. But yet, you never know when it is the end of time, when God is going to take you.
Wow.
And so regardless of what age you are, you have to value your time, regardless. And if we could give time and be a blessing in people's lives, because what you do in your life when you're gone will die with you. What you do in the lives of others will live on for generations to come. So you do make an impact. And that is our calling in life, to make an impact, a positive impact on the next generation, to be an example. It's not what we call ourselves. It's actually who we are as individuals, our kindness, love, compassion, and how we treat people and the respect that we give people. It's the example that I could be in a young man's life that doesn't have a man that walked out on him at a very early age, who actually, tell you a real quick story, his biological dad stepped into his life just recently, maybe 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and said to him, you know, I'm going to pick you up. I want to take you out and I want to see you, and so on and so forth. And I went to pick up this young man, and I said to, so how did he said, I'm not having a good day. I said, what happened? He goes, he never showed up. I said, wow. So, okay. So you're not having a good day because he never showed up. No, wait a minute. Don't make his inadequacies your miseries. You know, because he didn't show up. That's his weakness. Learn from that. Don't repeat the process. Break the curse. Be accountable like you've always been, because you've never been late every time I picked you up. You've never not been there when I came to get you. You are a man of integrity. You are a man. Now, this is a young adult, 13 years old now. You're a man of integrity. You're a man of your word. You've never let me down. So you sustain that. Don't be like what your biological dad was like. Learn from that and be who you are, and be the man that you are. And you can't hold yourself accountable. You can't hold yourself responsible for what somebody else did in their life. Let go of that, because you didn't make their decisions and you have no control over their decisions and their actions. You only have control over your actions, your decisions, your attitude. And so you be the impact, you be the change in the world.
Wow, that's probably a pretty good note to end on right there. And pretty, you know, I'm thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
You know, I mean,
I love you. Love this man. He is the best brother-in-law anybody could ever hope for. Yeah. Seriously, I love this man. He's awesome.
So,
and your book, by the way, is, I don't care who you are, you read that book, there will be a story that will touch you. And one of those stories will put a tear in your eye. And anything that puts a tear in your eye is hitting you in the heart. Yeah. See, the heart tells the head what to do, and the head tells the body where to go. If we could impact our heart, we need more heart in the world today.
That's true.
And so and we needed more heart in the world of yesterday when I was a young adult. It will always be like that.
Always be like that. Yeah.
And that book will impact you. That book will touch your heart. I challenge you to read that book.
Thank you.
Phenomenal book, Dennis. Fast reading too.
Yeah, it's all short stories. Yeah. Seventh Inning Stretch, Reflections on the Game of Life. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. So there you go. There's the commercial. So, but I do want to say this. Besides saying a great thank you to my brother, in more ways than we can describe. But if you enjoyed this podcast, then share it with someone. You know, I'm sure that there is someone in your life that could benefit from the wisdom that Charlie was sharing. You know, like Charlie talks about being 68 years young, right? And you know, but he's seen stuff. See, when you get as old as us, you accomplish some things. You start to learn some things, right? So share them with those people, even you know, and you could always subscribe to my YouTube channel, and because there's more stuff like this that's out there. Some of it's shorter. This is a little podcast, a little bit.
Tell me the address.
Yeah, it's just go to DennisLabriola.com, click on YouTube, and you'll see all the videos and you'll see everything else that's out there. So I always like to leave people with 3 things, and I want you to think about these, all right? And that is to remember people and events in your life. Acknowledge them and appreciate them. And I think that you'll have a pretty good day. Think about it. All right. God bless. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Take care. Good speaking with you.